In this video, we'll look at the stages I went through to paint in watercolour this blue sky flower. Hi, I'm Anna Mason. Welcome to Nature Studio TV, here to help you become the artist you want to be. This blue sky flower is delicate and full of 3D form. Painted with just 6 paints, it's available as a long format video class in Nature Studio, my online art school and community. Here's a quick overview. I began, as I always do, by making an accurate outline drawing, and then I set about mapping out the palest colour I could see in every area. I began with the petals, adjusting the hue to a more purple or blue colour where I observed subtle shifts in hue. I was taking care to avoid the lighter edges to the petals and applying the brush strokes in the direction of the petals' veins to start giving it a sense of its form. I left out any areas which weren't going to be a blue colour and moved on to the undersides of the petals, again adjusting the hue where I observed differences. Then I mapped out the hues in the flower's centre and in the buds and areas of greenery. I always work with really watered down paint mixes in this early stage, knowing I'll be darkening most areas later. Not only do these early brushstrokes lay the foundation for building up visual texture, form and realism in subsequent layers, but this underpainting becomes a guide for where to place the colours as more layers build up. Now came the scary bit, painting the darkest tones in the flower. With a stippling technique and following the direction of the petals, I applied a thick purple-blue mix to the darkest areas, extending it into the areas of mid-tone by watering it down a touch. Ensuring the area I painted on was always dry, I slowly increased the depth of colour by layering the paint. Paying attention to where the petals were more purple or blue, I continued to darken them, always following the petals' form and taking care to maintain the fine edges. I used a more pinky mix for the upper petals, then worked into the flower centre with a watery grey mix. As the painting was drying off, I sensitively darkened areas that were already dry. Then I began to add the veiny texture with the tip of my brush, using mostly a blue mix to enhance that blue glow. Once everywhere was completely dry, I used a thick buttery consistency of paint to darken the darkest tones, which increased the sense of depth in the centre. Then gently applied a watery glaze to smooth any areas of transition that needed to appear more softly graduated. I continued with a round of gradual darkening on the flower, working only in dry areas and moving to a smaller paintbrush as I added more detail. I let that dry, then repeated those steps on the greenery, beginning with the darkest tones, again adjusting the hue where it changed and watering down where I observed transitions to areas of different tonal value. I could see I now needed to widen the tonal range, which I did by juggling between darkening the darkest tones and mid-tones, but taking care not to darken the lighter areas yet. And because tone is relative, once that darkening was done, I could see that the lighter areas were appearing just slightly too light, so I subtly darkened those, including the highlights on the buds. I used a browny yellow colour on the former flowers. And then I added the line details to the green areas, matching the shapes I could see. With a small brush, I did some more darkening using vibrant green hues. Then I made another round of tonal adjustments and let the painting completely dry. I cleaned off my palette, then set about carefully applying paint to anywhere that wasn't looking dark enough yet. I was stepping back for this stage to view the painting as a whole. It's during this last step that the realism ramps up, so it always pays off to spend this time finessing. I was working on sketchbook paper for this flower, which isn't as absorbent as the 100% cotton paper I usually paint on. I had to be very gentle with my brush so as not to lift paint off this less absorbent paper, so I was applying the pigment with a light tapping motion. I continued adding details, subtly darkening and using my small brush to neaten up the edges and get them looking crisp. And when I stopped seeing differences between my reference photo and the painting, I decided this flower was finished. A full-length video class of this blue sky flower, complete with an outline drawing you can trace, a reference photo and full step-by-step instructions, is available now with Nature Studio membership. If you've enjoyed this mini class, please subscribe to Nature Studio TV, then pop over to naturestudio.com, where you can sign up for a free class and find a whole heap of resources to help you capture the beauty of nature on your paper. Thanks for watching, and if you want to find out more about my art school Nature Studio and the free class that's waiting for you there, keep watching. If you haven't taken your free full-length watercolour class yet, you're missing out. Step by step, I'll guide you through painting a 3D pear that looks real enough to pick up and eat. I'll explain not just what to do, but why, so you'll learn a reliable method you can use for painting all kinds of subjects that make your heart sing. You'll discover that you're already a better artist than you thought, and like thousands of others who painted their free pair before you, this discovery might just ignite a spark in you that wants to take this further. Which is where Nature Studio membership comes in. Joining gives you access to hundreds more classes that'll help you develop your skills and grow as an artist. And in addition to the classes, when you join, you become part of a global community of like-minded creatives who can support you and offer you feedback if and when you need it. Get the free pair class now and enjoy discovering wherever it takes you next.